The Zoom is on. I hope so. Okay. Everyone in the Zoom, if you don't have a Gemara, I posted the Gemara on the chat. Feel free to open it from there until you get your own Gemaras. Tomorrow night in Mirza Hashem, we will have Gemaras for everyone. The game plan is every night, Mirza Hashem, 8 o'clock. We're going to have about 10, 11 minutes. We're going to learn together. I'm going to start with the Mishnah. Anything that's not clear, feel free to jump in. And then the last few minutes, we will break up. Well, not really much room to break up, but the last few minutes, everyone will read through it together with a chavrusa by themselves, thereby, Rav Menachem, Shalom. We didn't start yet. Don't worry. We didn't start yet. You can put the food on the table. Perfect. Perfect. And the last few minutes, we're gonna, read. Everyone can read together the Gemara with a chavrusa with someone next to them, thereby keeping things moving. So we're starting with tomorrow. We're gonna have the Gemaras. Rav Menachem just giving you the update. We wanted to switch them because the ones that we had, I didn't feel were the right ones for everyone. Okay. So without further ado. Anyone on the Zoom, you could feel free to chime in as well. Don't feel like you're on Zoom and you can't talk. If you have something to say, feel free to unmute yourself. My volume is on, and it would be a pleasure to hear you if you would like. We start the second parak of Sukkah, Daf Chaf Amid Beis. Daf Chaf Amid Beis. Come, we didn't start yet. Rav David, we have room. There's another copy right over here. Oh, Chevra, come on in. There's seats over here. Get him 2 seats. Here we go. The new Gemaras. The Gemaras I got were the wrong ones. So we're going to have new Gemaras tomorrow. Chevra. New Gemaras tomorrow. We'll make a l'chaim when we finish the first year. At the end of the first year, we'll make a l'chaim. Come here. This copy's here. Those are taivold. Those mugs are taivold, Chevra. Those mugs are taivold. There's seats here. Okay. If anyone needs his pencils here, there's pens for the real men amongst us. If you could handle your pen. And we will begin. Zoom people, someone just yell, tell me that you hear me, or give me a thumbs up. Someone? Just want to make sure they hear me. Anyone? Yes, thumbs up, Sam. Okay. Hayoshein tachas hamita. Someone is yoshein. He is sleeping. Tachas, underneath. Hamita, the bed. Someone is sleeping underneath a bed, basukah, in the sukkah. Interesting story. He's sleeping there, but he's under the bed. He has the bed in the sukkah. Maybe it was raining. Maybe he got into a fight with his wife. Maybe for other reasons. And he rolled onto the bed. Listen, things happen. What can I tell you? So he's under the bed. So what's the question? Is he in the sukkah or not? He's in the sukkah, but he's under the bed. Before we even continue, we can just think for a moment. Come, sit down. We have a pay-per-view here. We can just think together for a moment. Imagine you're in the sukkah and you put the cover on. You're under the bed. Says the Mishnah, Loi yatsa yidei chay vasai. Gemaras are flying, Baruch Hashem. Loi yatsa yidei chay vasai. You do not fulfill your obligation because why? You're in the sukkah. But where are you really? Under the bed. Opinion number 1 in the Mishnah, the Tanakama in English says, if one is sleeping under a bed in a sukkah, he is not fulfilling his obligation of what? What's his obligation? What's the obligation? To sleep in the sukkah. We all could wonder aloud, why sleep in the sukkah? No, why is the case of the Mishnah that he slept in the sukkah? Why is he not eating under the bed in the sukkah? There's many mitzvahs you do in a sukkah. You sleep, you eat, you hang out. Why is the Mishnah discussing sleeping under the bed? That question bother anyone? Why sleeping? I think if all of us, we'd think it's the last thing we'd be doing is sleeping under the bed in the sukkah. Okay. Maybe. Yeah.
I mean, you don't have. Do you have to be in the sukkah every second of?
Oh, very good. Explain what you're saying. The Mefarshim say exactly what Menachem is saying.
You're supposed to eat in the sukkah.
And even more. Wait, pause. When you eat, everything you have to eat. Everything.
Not everything other than.
Other than shackle. So not every item that you eat would you have to be in the sukkah, correct? But when it comes to sleeping, as we're going to see, ironically, and I say ironically because unfortunately nowadays maybe it's not the case, but ironically when it comes to sleeping, are you allowed to take a nap out of the sukkah? You would think if I could have my cup of, keep us a cup please, if I could have my cup of flat seltzer out of the sukkah, I'm sorry, it looks flat. If I can have my cup of flat seltzer out of the sukkah, please, thank you so much. If I can have my cup of flat seltzer out of the sukkah, I would think I could take a nap out of the sukkah. Ooh, and it's warm, Baruch Hashem. Baruch atah Adonai, Yaleinu melech haolam shakol niyeh b'derei. So maybe perhaps that is the reason why we're discussing sleeping in the sukkah, which we will get to. So what's the first opinion of the Mishnah? If someone sleeps in the sukkah, but where is he? Under the bed? Not yet. Amar Rav Yehuda. Says Rav Yehuda, noyagin. You know, we were noyeg, hayinu. We were noyeg, noyagin, hayinu. Shahayinu yeshenim tachas amita. We would sleep under the bed, pifnei hazikenim, in front of the elders. Rav Yehuda is hanging out in front of all the Gedolei Hadar, and he says, you know where we used to sleep? Under the bed. And what happened? V'loi amru lanu davar. And they didn't say anything to us. Imagine, you're in Rav Chaim Kanievsky's house, he invites you to sleep for a pajama party, sleep over in the sukkah, you say, Rav Chaim, no problem. He asks, where are you going to sleep? You tell him, I'm going under the bed. What does Rav Chaim say? Nothing.
Maybe they were sleeping outside.
But what does it seem to imply? No, but it sounds like they saw it. Very good. But for the fact that he says they were there, it sounds like what?
It'd be a little bit weird, they're just watching you sleep.
Oh, but what's the point? But very good. What do you see if they're watching you sleep under the bed and they said nothing? What does it sound like?
It's not a problem.
Very good. It sounds like it's not a problem. So opinion number 2 in the Mishnah, Rav Yehuda argues. Opinion number 1 in the Mishnah is if you sleep under the bed, what's the halacha? You're not yotzei. Opinion number 2 in the Mishnah, Rav Yehuda says if you sleep under the bed, what's the halacha? You are yotzei. Amar Rav Shimon, part 3 of the Mishnah. Ma'isa b'Tevi avdai. There was a story with Tevi, my servant, shel Rav Gamliel. Tevi, the servant of Rav Gamliel. Shayo yashein tachas amita. He was sleeping under the bed. Va'amar lahen Rav Gamliel is the kenim. So we have Tevi, the servant, sleeping under the bed. Rav Gamliel turns to the elders and says, Re'isem Tevi Avdi, do you see? Re'isem, do you see Tevi Avdi, Tevi my servant? Shehu Talmud Chacham. He's very smart, he's a Talmud Chacham. V'yodeya, and he knows, what does he know? She'avadim piturim min hasokah. He knows he's an Eved. He knows he's a servant. And he knows he's pater, he's exempt from sleeping in the sukkah, and therefore what did Tevi do, says Rabbi Gamliel to the elders? Lefikach, therefore, Yashen hu tachas hamita. Therefore he's sleeping under the bed. End of story. So what does Rabbi Gamliel seemingly hold? That what is the status of sleeping under the bed? You're not yotzei. Like which opinion in the Mishnah? The first opinion. So we have a seesaw going on in the Mishnah. The Tanakama says you're not yotzei. Rav Yehuda says you are yotzei. Rav Shimon tells over a story with Rav Gamliel that seemingly indicates that you're not yotzei. And that's how the Mishnah concludes. Ulefi darkenu lamanu. And according to our derech, according to the story over here, we learn a little bit of a funny words. Ulefi darkenu lamanu. We'll maybe end with that in a moment. Shehayoshen tachas hamita loy yatsa yedei chayvasai. You're not yotzei your obligation. Before we conclude the Mishnah, the words "L'fi darkeinu lamanu" sound funny. What exactly do those words mean? According to our derech. So we peek at Rashi, and the first word of Rashi already tells us the whole story. Rashi says one word. What does Rashi say? Kiloymar. What does the word kiloymar mean? The word kiloymar meaning to say. When Rashi says the word kiloymar, and this is almost an absolute rule, it's always Rashi teaching you. Rashi was the ultimate Rebbe, telling you the way that you read the Mishnah is not simple. The way that you read the Gemara, don't read it simply. Kiloymar, it doesn't mean like you think it means. Rather, what does it mean? Something else. I'm just going to read the Rashi a little bit quickly. Even though we did not say this story l'shem limud, ela l'sichas chulin ba'alma, Reb Shimon was telling a story. Reb Shimon one night, story time, story with Tevi, his servant, And he's just telling a story. What happened with Tevi? He's sleeping under the bed, and Rav Gamliel tells the elders. So was Rav Shimon really telling a halacha? No. What was Rav Shimon doing? Telling story time. He was just joking around. Lamanu, what do we learn? From the jokes, from the stories of a great person, we learn. We're on the last words of the Rashi in the Mishnah. So to break down this Mishnah, and then we're going to pause, let everyone read the Mishnah over with someone next to them. Everyone will somewhat find a chavrusa in the future if everyone wants to actually choose someone to learn with and sit next to them. That's the easiest way to do it. Because, there's not that much time nor space to start, doing the whole chavrusa shuffle. And we all remember back in yeshiva what happens when we break for chavrusas. That's the break for tequila and the break for all the other things. But we don't have time for that. So our break for chavrusa is going to be just to read over what we just learned. But there's 3 parts in the Mishnah. Let's say over the Mishnah outside. We could probably say it over in very quickly, but we'll do it a drop slower. Opinion number one in the Mishnah is, if you sleep under a bed in the sukkah, what's the halacha? Not yotzei. Rav Yehuda comes along and says, yotzei. And let's just realize, Rav Yehuda said a little bit more than yotzei. He said, this is what we did. Noi hagim, which is always a stronger word. He didn't just say yotzei. He told the story. This is what we did. We used to sleep under the bed. And the Mishnah concluded with a wonderful story time of Rav Shimon. The Rav Shimon told us that the servant Tevi of Rav Gamliel would sleep under the bed to teach us that you are not yotzei. Why did he sleep under the bed if you're not yotzei? Because Tevi was a eved, and therefore you're not. He did not have an obligation in the Mishnah. 3 wonderful parts in the Mishnah. If you wanted to quantify it in your brain, part A and C are really one opinion. Part B is a second opinion. The Tanakama and Rav Gamliel hold you're not yotzei. Rav Yehuda hold you are yotzei. Mazel tov l'chaim. We learned the Mishnah. Everyone should try to read the Mishnah together, either with the person next to you or with yourself. We have 3 minutes to Meir. The best would be read it once, read it, and if there's something someone doesn't know, Chevra, if there's something you don't know, ask. Now is the time to ask. If there's a word you don't know, ask.